قالوا ماذا نفعل يا رسول الله؟ قال كونوا كآل عيسى حملوا على الأحشاب ونشروا بالمناشير فوالذي نفس محمد بيده لميتة في سبيل الله خير من الحياة في معصية الخالق أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. All praise belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who through His infinite grace and mercy Allah has blessed us with the wealth of Iman, with the kalima La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. This Iman demands from us that we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the way that we are commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to believe in Allah. That Allah is one and Allah is alone. Allah is unique. Allah has no partners. It's such a time of the year that millions, if not billions of people in this time of the year, they are celebrating a specific belief structure in which they're making shirk with Allah. And we as Muslims, Allah has given us a pure deen, a pure belief structure, a pure belief strategy that we have with Allah, something that we do not associate any partners with Allah. Allah is one, Allah is alone, Allah has no father, Allah has no mother, Allah has no wife, Allah has no son, Allah has no daughters. There are nothing attributed to Allah. There is no gods, goddesses, or godlings attributed to Allah. They came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They said, we know the lineage of our forefathers. We know the lineage of our animals. We know the lineage of our horses. Can you tell us the lineage of Allah? Where did Allah come from? Where did Allah originate from? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the verses to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Say, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah is one, He's alone, He's unique, He's ahad. Ahad is such a word in Arabic in which there is no thani. There is no second to Allah. He's one and alone. There is no second to Allah. Allahu Samad. Allah is independent. Allah is the creator of the heavens and the earth. And after creating each created entity, Allah is Samad, He's independent of that creation. After creating the angels, Allah is independent of the angels. After creating the jinn, Allah is independent of the jinn. After creating this insan, Allah is independent of this insan. Allah does not need our worship. Allah does not need our takbir. Allah is not in need of our tahleel. Allah is not in need of our tasbih. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of our tahmeed. Allah is not in need of any word of praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is independent. After creating the clouds, Allah is independent of the clouds. After creating the earth, Allah is independent of the earth. Allah can make water come down without the clouds. In the time of Nuh alayhi salam, for the destruction of the people of Nuh alayhi salam, the ulama have stated that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the water come down directly from the sky. فَفَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ أَبْوَابَ السَّمَاءِ بِمَاءٍ مُنْهَمِرٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was independent of these clouds. Allah made it come directly from His khazana, from His treasuries, from the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Adabul Mufrad, Imam Bukhari rahimahullah in his kitab, he states, on a very black night you look up in the middle of the sky, you will see a white mark, and this is where the opening was for the sky. It came out of the system of the angels that are in control of the water, and Allah made the water for the destruction come directly from His khazana, from His treasuries. Normally the system is it rains, and the rain comes from these clouds. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is independent of the clouds. The angels are in control of the wind. the nation of Ad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about it in the Quran. When they transgressed and went against the limit of the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. سبع ليال وثمانية أيام, 7 nights, وثمانية أيام, and 8 days, حسوما فترى القوم فيها سرعا كأنهم أعجاز نخل خاوية. Normally the wind blows. Allah is in control of this wind. The wind normally blows. Allah made the wind come out of the control of the angel that is responsible for the wind. And Allah made it come out directly from His khazana for the destruction of the nation, and took them up towards the skies, made them collide with one another, and dislocated their joints from their body, and dropped them on this earth like logs. Allah is in control of everything, independent of everything. Allah created the earth, but is independent of the earth to bring out vegetation, to bring out this plantation, to bring out the system of fruit and vegetables from this earth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it, but Allah is independent of all of the system. Allah is in control of this human being. For this insan, there is a sunnah that takes place. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the system that takes place, Allah is independent of the system. He is as-samad, alladhi lam yalid wa lam yulad, wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. These verses were revealed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No one gave birth to Allah, nor did Allah give birth to anyone. There is no one that is the son of Allah. There is no one that is the daughter of Allah. And there is no one that is equal to Allah. In the power of Allah, there is no one equal to Allah. In the knowledge of Allah, there is no one equal to Allah. In the greatness of Allah, there is no one equal to Allah. Allah is alive. Allah is hayy. قبل كل حي. حي بعد كل حي. حي يحيي كل حي. حي يميت كل حي. حي لا يشبهه حي. Allah is alive above every living. Allah is alive. He gave life to every living. Allah is alive. He gave death to every living. Allah is alive. There is no living creature on this earth that lives the life and the living of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's above every system. He's in control of every system. This yaqeen of the zat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of the being of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one that is in control of every creation, the one that is sustaining every creation. Rizq is not in a shop. Rizq is not in a job. Rizq is not in money. Rizq is not in our husband's power or in our father's ability, or the wife providing for the husband, or the husband providing for the wife, or the children providing for the father, or the father providing for the children. Allah is the Razzaq. Allah is the one that is taking care. Allah is the one that is sustaining every creation. To take out the incorrect belief that has settled in our hearts, that there's only one Raziq, there's only one Raziq, there's only one Raziq, there's only one sustainer, and that is Allah. To take every ghair out of this heart, the first ABC of this kalima, or what we will say the alif bata of this kalima, the ibtidaiyat of this kalima, the basic fundamental responsibility that we have to believe in Allah, is to take out every ghair of the creation from this heart. Whatever has been settled in our hearts for years and years and years, this ghair has to be taken out from this heart. And the greatness of Allah has to be put in our heart. The power of Allah has to be put in our heart, to make nafi of all the creation. And these words we come out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we repeat these words to our heart again and again. We repeat these words so that the incorrect belief is taken out. What firmness, what certainty, what yaqeen. This heart cannot have two yaqeens. This heart cannot have two hopes. This heart cannot have two attachments. This heart cannot have two trusts. This heart cannot have two convictions. It has to have only one yaqeen in Allah, and break every yaqeen and every trust that it has, and every reliance that it has, and every attachment that it has from all the creation. Because every attachment, every engrossment, every dollar, every pound, every euro, every rand that a person has, every cent a person has, it increases in the incorrect belief that a person has. He puts some trust in these things, and this the reality is that all of these things have to come out of the heart. We have to empty the heart. They came to Mufti Saab. They asked Mufti Saab a simple question. They said, Mufti Saab, the dog fell in the well. How many buckets of water should we take out from the well? Mufti Saab told them, because it's a dog, You'll have to take so many buckets of water out of the well. They started taking out the buckets of the water from the well. After they took out the specific amount of buckets of water, they came to Mufti Saab again. They say, Mufti Saab, we still see the hair of the dog. We still see the hair of the dog. Mufti Saab asked them, did you take out the dog from the well? They say, no, we did not take out the dog. We did not take out the dog. The first thing that needs to be taken out is the dog needs to be taken out from the well. And after you take out the dog, then you have to take out so many buckets of water. This dog has been settled in our heart. The dog of the incorrect yaqeen, the incorrect belief structure, the incorrect yaqeen that has been settled in our hearts for years and years and years. This incorrect belief has to come out. It will take effort to come out. The repetition of iman and yaqeen, the repetition of yaqeen in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the ghayrullah, to repeat that this ghayrullah cannot benefit, it cannot harm. This ghayrullah is dead, is hopeless, it's useless, it's helpless, it's harmless. It cannot affect anybody. It cannot benefit anyone. It cannot give cure, it cannot give sickness. It is totally useless. Ye be bas hai. Our elders say, ye be bas hai, ye be kas hai. The belief structure, it cannot benefit anyone. It cannot harm anyone. It is totally useless to take out this incorrect belief and then to put the correct belief. Jo la kaha, wo la hua, fir islaku la hua, juz la hua, kull la hua, fir kya hua, Allah hua. Moulana Umar Saab Palanpuri rahmatullah alayhi used to repeat these words again and again to take out all that which is settled in our hearts. That a person has this belief structure, to take out all of these belief structures from a person's heart and to instill in our heart the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person thinks that I am doing, and my being present on a certain time is doing, and my working in a specific place is doing, and because I'm giving 8 hours in a specific place it's happening, and he starts building this yaqeen on himself. Moulana Umar Saab used to say, like the dog was under the train. The dog was under the train, and the train went on. And then the dog started walking. And as the dog started walking slowly, the train started moving. And the dog started believing that I am pulling this whole train. The dog is under the train. And the dog is pulling a little, he walks a little forward. And the dog feels that I am pulling this whole train. And then the dog starts walking a little faster. And the train also goes faster. So now the dog starts believing that I am really pulling this train. And then the dog starts going faster. And he starts believing that now I'm really pulling this train. And now the dog is running and the train is moving at full speed. And the dog got this conviction in his heart that I am pulling this train. I'm making this train run. This train is moving because of my ability, my know-how, my intelligence, my existence. This entire train is running. And he starts believing this. And just to know, after a few minutes, the dog will get tired. The dog will get tired. And as the dog gets tired, the dog will come on the side and it will be breathing heavy. And the reality is the train is moving on another power. The train will continue moving. A person was not married, then he got married. He thought he's providing for his wife. And then he had a child, and he thought he's providing for his child. And then he had a second child, and he thinks he's providing. And he had a third child, and he thinks he's providing. And he had a fourth child, and he thinks he's providing. Just to know Allah gives him more. And he thought all of this time that he was providing and providing. And it's not that after he passes away, his wife passes away. It's not that after his child, so many times, wallah, we have seen people from poor families, they left orphan children behind. The thought came in our mind, how these orphan children will ever grow up. Just to know Allah made those orphan children multi-millionaires. This is the system of Allah. Because Allah is the provider. Allah is in control. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this life, that Allah has given us, Allah will test us. Like how Allah tested the Anbiya alayhimus salam. Allah made each and every Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Each and every Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah tested them. what great halat and conditions, that Nabi was brought to the pinnacle of his life. And Allah will test us in this world, the ulama say, before we come to the grave and before the question in the grave is put to us, Man Rabbuk, Allah will test us in this world. Halat will come, conditions will come, situations will come, where Allah will want to test this iman. Allah will want to test the conviction of this human being in this dunya. In this world, situations will come. Allah will put halat, such severe conditions. Look at the life of Anbiya alayhimus salam. Ibrahim alayhis salam. He comes, everyone is against him. He's about to be thrown and catapulted in the fire. And the angel comes, Amma ilayka fala, Amma ilayka fala. Turns his attention away from all the creation. And he turns his direct attention to Allah. Allah becomes sufficient for him. Allah took a Nabi to the final pinnacle, to see the yaqeen of that Nabi, to see where's the attachment of that Nabi, to see if this Nabi truly has the yaqeen of Allah. And then Allah became sufficient and said, قُلْنَا يَا نَارُ كُونِي بَرْدًا وَسَلَامًا عَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ. Musa alayhi salam moving. Musa alayhi salam going in front of him is the ocean. Behind is Fir'aun and the army. Kalla. The people, his own nation, their attention starts going away. Oh Musa, where have you brought us? Look at the situation. In both directions is death. We are going to die. There is no possibility of survival. Musa alayhi salam, in that critical condition, Allah tested the Anbiya. And Allah will test us before the question is put in the grave, Man Rabbuk. Many times in this world, the question will be in front of us. The halat will come. The situation will come to test this iman. In this dunya, to see in which direction our preparation is made correctly or incorrectly. That he said, Kalla, inna ma'iya rabbi sayahdeen. A Nabi of Allah, inna ma'iya rabbi, directed, he said, never, Allah will never destroy us. His yaqeen and conviction was affirmed in the that of Allah. And this is the requirement that we need. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, with Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala, in the journey of Hijrah, in the cave of Thawr, the enemy are on the foot of the mountain. And the question is put, ثاني اثنين إذ هما في الغار إذ يقول لصاحبه لا تحزن إن الله معنا. A Nabi was tested to the final pinnacle, to the final moment, to see where is this yaqeen, is that person attached to Allah or not. Allah put halat and conditions. Before a person will go in the grave, that's why we have to make this effort of iman. Iman needs to be built. Iman needs to be developed. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran speaks about an incident in detail. In detail, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about an imam of the masjid in Masjidul Aqsa, in Palestine, in Jerusalem. There was an imam of the masjid. The imam of the masjid, his name was Imran. And Allah speaks about this in the Quran. His wife was Hannah. That's why it's famously known amongst the Christians. They keep the name Hannah. Hannah was the wife of Imran, who was the imam of Masjidul Aqsa. And he passed away, leaving a wife that was pregnant and going to have a child. And she made a vow to Allah. A woman at that time, going to have the child, pregnant, going through the difficulty of a pregnancy. At that time, losing her husband, a difficult situation. But her attachment with Allah, Allah loved it so much that Allah speaks about the wife of Imran. إذا قالت امرأة عمران رب إني نذرت لك ما في بطني محررا فتقبل مني إنك أنت السميع العليم. فلما وضعتها قالت رب إني وضعتها أنثى والله أعلم بما وضعت وليس الذكر كالأنثى وإني سميتها مريم وإني أعيذها بك وذريتها من الشيطان الرجيم. She made a vow with Allah that she will give over this child 100% to Allah. Thinking in her mind, as a woman has the thought that she'll have a son that will replace her husband who was the Imam of Masjid al-Aqsa, and he will be a leader to the community. Just to know when she gave birth, it was not a boy, it was a girl. And this is also the system of Allah. This is also the wish of Allah. لِلَّهِ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ يَخْلُقُ مَا يَشَاءُ يَهَبُ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ إِنَاثًا وَيَهَبُ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ الذُّكُورَ أَوْ يُزَوِّجُهُمْ ذُكْرَانًا وَإِنَاثًا وَيَجْعَلُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ عَقِيمًا. This is the decision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Some Allah gives only males, some Allah gives only females, some Allah gives males and females, and it is the decision of Allah that some people Allah keeps them barren. Allah does not give them no male issue, nor does Allah give them any females. They are barren. This is the decision of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It has to be decided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So she wanted to have a boy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave her a girl. Anyway, she had the decision. The child's name was Maryam, and also decided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. سميتها Maryam. She named the child Maryam. وَإِنِّي أُعِيذُهَا بِكَ وَذُرِّيَّتَهَا مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. And Allah made a decision that this child will be protected from shaitan and the evil plot of the rejected one, shaitan. And this child grew up. She was running around in the masjid. She was playing around in the masjid, in Masjid al-Aqsa, in Jerusalem. She used to be a young girl, like how our Imam Sahib in the masjid we seen, he come with his children, and the children are running around, playing around in the masjid. The last masjid we were there. And this is natural, you see the children coming to the masjid. This young girl, in the tarbiyat of her mother, and the tarbiyat of the masjid, and her uncle Zakaria alayhi salam wanted to become the kafil and take care of the child. So they wanted someone who's going to become responsible. And all the people that were pious there, they wanted to take responsibility of this child. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them that they should take their pens and throw their pens in the river. And whoever's pen flows in the opposite direction of the river, they will become responsible and take care of Maryam alayha ridwan. And here Zakaria alayhi salam threw his pens. These were the pens that they would use to write the verses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were scribes of the books that were sent down, and they would record and write the wordings of the books. So they threw their pens inside the river. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it so that Zakaria alayhi salam, his pen, instead of flowing as a normal way, you throw something in the river is flowing downstream. Everything should flow downstream. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it that the pen of Zakaria alayhi salam, it flowed upstream. It went in the opposite direction. And this was a sign that he will take responsibility and he will be able to take care of Maryam alayha ridwan. And this young girl that was in Masjid al-Aqsa, Allah teaches us, when a person's connection with Allah is strong, how Allah helps a person, how Allah assists a person. She used to be in the side. فَكَفَّلَهَا زَكَرِيَّا كُلَّمَا دَخَلَ عَلَيْهَا زَكَرِيَّا الْمِحْرَابِ كُلَّمَا دَخَلَ عَلَيْهَا زَكَرِيَّا الْمِحْرَابِ وَجَدَ عِنْدَهَا رِزْقًا. The ayat of the Quran teaches us, every time Zakaria alayhi salam, Kullama states, every time Zakaria alayhi salam would enter, every time Zakaria alayhi salam would enter, there was a mihrab, there was a small little chamber, small little room. Even in today's time, my Jamaat also, when Abu Sati also, he went to Palestine. You go in the basement of the Haram, right down towards the left-hand side. They take you to see the small little room where Maryam alayha ridwan was there inside. And the ayat of the Quran teaches us, كُلَّمَا دَخَلَ عَلَيْهَا زَكَرِيَّا الْمِحْرَابِ. Every time Zakaria alayhi salam would enter there by Maryam alayha ridwan, وَجَدَ عِنْدَهَا رِزْقًا قال يا مريم أنى لك هذا قالت هو من عند الله إن الله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب. Her father was the Imam of the Haram. He passed away. Allah did not deprive this young girl. Allah made the tarbiyat of this young girl in such a unique manner that Allah made food and fruit from out of season. Every time he would enter, there would be food. He was in charge. He was surprised by him asking this question, Anna laki hada, where did you get this from? The person that is in charge, the person that's supposed to be bringing the food, the person that's supposed to be taking care for the nourishment and upbringing of the child, he is surprised. Anna laki hada, qalat huwa min indillah. The tarbiyat of this child was such. Maryam alayha ridwan, she said, this is directly from Allah. Directly from Allah. The Mufassirin, those that go in the interpretation of these ayat, they state that she would have fruit from out of season. Zakaria alayhi salam would go in the marketplace, and the fruit that was in the marketplace was fruit from a different, what was in the season. But when he would come into the chamber of Maryam alayha ridwan, she would have fruit that was not in the marketplace. Where did it come from? It came directly from Allah. Anna laki hada, qalat huwa min indillah. Inna Allah yarzuqu man yasha'u bighayri hisab. Allah is the one that provides without any account. No one can question Allah. No one can ask and question the authority of Allah. Allah does as He wants, when He wants, how He wants, in a manner He wants, in the time He wants. It won't happen more than He wants. It will not happen less than He wants. Precisely like how Allah decides, this is how it will come. Zakaria alayhi salam of old age, he could not have children. The thought came to his mind, if Allah can give this child food of out of season, then me, myself, I am also out of season. I am old, my bones are weak, I cannot have a child. But if Allah can give her food out of season, Allah can even give me a child. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed Zakaria alayhi salam with a child. And Maryam alayha ridwan, Allah speaks about her in the Quran, the miraculous birth of Isa alayhi salam. And this is our belief structure. We are that time of the year that thousands, if not millions and billions of people probably, they are going in the wrong direction and attributing and making shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That Maryam alayha ridwan, she comes out from the bathroom. She comes out and she sees someone in front of her. And as the question comes to her, he changes his angelic form to a partial, from a human form, because a human being did not come close to her. She had modesty. No one ever came close to her. And he changed his form from a human form to a partial angelic form, and said that I have the glad tidings to give you a child. Glad tidings. She was surprised. How am I going to have a child? No one has come close to me. He said this is simple and easy for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah wants to teach mankind until the day of Qiyamah that Allah is in control. Allah is in power. Allah can do with means. Allah can do without means. And Allah can do against means. And as Jibreel alayhi salam blew in her, she felt the pain. And she started feeling that she needs to give birth. She went on the side. She went to go give birth. It was a difficult situation. The people were going to speak against her. She started fasting. People asked her, where you got this child from? In those times when a person is fasting, they're not allowed to eat and drink. In those times when a person was fasting, they were fasting also without speaking. And she pointed towards the child. She said, why are you questioning me? Why are you asking me? Speak directly to the child. And they pointed to the child. Miraculously Allah made it. Miraculously Allah made it. that the child that was just born, the child that did not have the ability to speak, the child that did not have the ability to say a few little words, miraculously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it that this child spoke. قال إني عبد الله آتاني الكتاب وجعلني نبيا وجعلني مباركا أينما كنت وأوصاني بالصلاة والزكاة ما دمت حيا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control of each condition, each situation. The miraculous birth of this child, Isa alayhi salam, grows up. And Isa alayhi salam, Allah put miracles on his hand. It was a time that medicine had reached its pinnacle. Medicine had reached its peak. And normally, the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was that whenever a Nabi came, the Nabi's effort was to challenge the fitna of the time. Whatever people thought they had reached uruj and the pinnacle of certain things, they reached the height of certain things. Like in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the people reached the height of poetry. They were masters in poetry. It was intrinsic part of their life. There was no difficulty, people could sing poetry. On a happy occasion they could sing poetry, words and words of poetry. And on a sad occasion, sometimes a sad occasion comes, a person does not know what to say. A person is dumbfounded. The words are not coming out. These people, Allah bless them with such unique tongues, that on the worst of calamities that would come to them, halat and conditions would come to them, the news would just reach them, their father passed away, their husband passed away, their son passed away, a major calamity coming on them. And yet at that difficult condition, poetry would just come out from their mouths. They reached the height of poetry. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to challenge the poetry of the time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the Quran to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That was filled with balagha, and that was filled with fasaha, that was filled with all the different unique styles of eloquency of speech. So in the time of Isa alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the people reach the pinnacle of medicine. So Allah gave Isa alayhi salam the miracle. A person that was blind, born blind, he could just pass his hand over the eyes of the person and he could see. A person that was in the worst sick condition, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put shifa in the condition of the hand of Isa alayhi salam, that he would just come and the cure would come to the person. He would take clay or mud, mixture of sand and water, and he would make it into the shape of a bird, and then he would blow into it, and that shape or that form or that mold of the bird would come into life and it would fly off. Allah gave him the taqat, so much so, on occasion Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the power to Isa alayhi salam that he could go to a dead person. He could go to a dead person and he could say, Qum bi-idhnillah. Allah gave him this mu'jizat and miracles. These were given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to a Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that people can see that he is a prophet. This was Isa alayhi salam. Allah blessed him with all these bounties. He could see someone. He would see someone and he would tell that person what he ate at home and what food he has at home. He could see someone. Today someone also come to the masjid, we can tell him what he ate at home. Because he just gives one loud burp. He burps and we can say he ate biryani or he ate nihari. But that's not the condition. Isa alayhi salam, Allah gave him as a mu'jiza. He could see. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took Isa alayhi salam up to the heavens. It was one night, close to Maghrib Salah, one evening, on a Friday. And there were many people in the room. And Allah speaks about this in the Quran. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when they came in the room to take Isa alayhi salam out, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected Isa alayhi salam and took him through the window that was in the room towards the heavens alive. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took Isa alayhi salam away. Isa alayhi salam was not killed. وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ. Allah speaks of it in the Quran in the second juz. This is our belief structure. وما قتلوه وما صلبوه ولكن شبه لهم وإن الذين اختلفوا فيه لفي شك من ما لهم به من علم إلا اتباع الظن وما قتلوه يقينا. Allah says, with conviction we say it, and again we say it. He was not killed, nor was he crucified. He was never killed. وما قتلوه يقينا. With conviction he was not killed. بل رفعه الله إليه. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected Isa alayhi salam and took him towards the heavens. This was a mu'jiza and a miracle that a human being was taken off this earth and taken to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what Allah speaks of in the Quran. These yaqeen and waqiyat of how Allah protected people, how Allah helped them, how Allah assisted them. And Allah can protect anyone that He wants. Allah can protect any person. To repeat these waqiyat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in the Quran. That's why we come out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The correction of yaqeen, the correction of this conviction of where it is and where our yaqeen is settled. That's why we in the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, this is the final Nabi and the final ummah. After Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, there will be no more Nabi to come. And after this ummah, there will be no ummah to come. This is the best of ummahs. This is the chosen ummah. This is the ummah marhuma. And we have a special task and a responsibility. Each male and each female of the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It was for the first time in human history that a Nabi on the plains of Mina, he gave the responsibility, the amanat, risalah to his ummah. It was the first time a Nabi in a public event passed on this amanat, risalat, the trust that was given to prophets to the general public. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he asked the Sahaba, Allah hal ballaghed, have I fulfilled the responsibility of tabligh? And Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in, in one voice they said, بلغت الرسالة وأديت الأمانة ونصحت الأمة وكشفت الغمة وجاهدت في سبيل الله حق جهاده. O Nabi of Allah, you fulfilled the haqq of this work of tabligh. Then he pointed with his finger, index finger, to the sky. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allahumma ashhad, Allahumma ashhad, Allahumma ashhad. Oh Allah, you bear testimony. Oh Allah, you bear testimony. Oh Allah, you bear testimony. And then he passed on this message. And he said to the ummah, فَلْيُبَلِّغِ الشَّاهِدْ مِنْكُمُ الْغَائِبِ. Everyone that is present has to take this deen to those that are absent. We have an amanat. And the khiyanat of the amanat is when this amanat is not fulfilled. The khiyanat is taking place. There is khiyanat of this amanat. We are responsible. Imagine a person tells us, this is what you need to do. This is why you are in existence. This is why Allah has given us life. This is our first mission. This is our first job. This is why we in the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is why we are called the best of ummahs. We have a job and a responsibility. We have a takaza, standing takaza on our shoulders. We have a standing takaza, every male, every female. The fikr of the hidayat of the whole alam. For every black and every white, every educated and uneducated, every rich and every poor, every person living in the first world or third world, every person living in a hot country or cold country. We have the responsibility, male and female. From the moment our children were born, we are da'i ilallah. We have the responsibility of da'wat. We have been chosen for da'wat. Our actual fundamental responsibility is da'wat. Unfortunately, our elders say, hum bhul gaye. We forgot. We forgot who we are. We forgot our actual job. We forgot why Allah has created us. We forgot what's our takaza and our responsibility. This farz-e mansabi, this main responsibility that was placed on our shoulders. This ummah forgot. This ummah forgot. Hum bhul gaye or hum bhul gaye ke hum bhul gaye. We did not only forget, we forgot that we even forgot. Every person has made every other responsibility his objective of his life. And the main objective of our life has been forgotten. Like our elders say so beautifully, that person had a bird, and the bird was in a cage. It was an eagle. And the eagle used to fly high. It was caught and put in the cage. For years and years and years it was fed in the cage. And now after many years the owner, he felt pity for this bird, for this eagle. And he wanted to open the cage and tell the eagle, "Oh eagle, your place is not the cage. Your place is not the cage. You're supposed to be flying high, looking at the snow-peak mountain caps, looking at the beautiful rainbow, looking at the beautiful sunrise and sunset, going over the oceans and beautiful sceneries. But you're sitting here in the cage." He opened the cage, the owner of the bird, and he told the bird, "Fly." He told the eagle, "Fly." The eagle put his head down in humiliation and disgrace. And the eagle said, "I forgot how to fly. I forgot how to fly." Today this ummah that was chosen for da'wat, you tell this ummah to strive in the path of Allah. Go in the path of Allah. Go from place to place, from village to village, from gully to gully, go from alley to alley, door to door, city to city, country to country, continent to continent. Go to the whole world. Go to every hook, nook, corner of the world. Go to every single human being without the desire of a blue bean. This is our actual responsibility. A person doesn't understand what we're saying. What was the hijrat? To leave our families and strive in the path of Allah. For the deen of Islam to come into existence. For Allah's deen to come alive. For the command of Allah to come into existence. Qurbani and sacrifice was given. Moulana Fazlur Rahman Sahib, we met him now in Medina Munawwara. He said something so unique. He said, "We're teaching hadith now for years and years and years." He's the Shaykh al-Hadith of Darul Uloom Azadwal. In Medina Munawwara, he did a hadith dars. And as he was leaving, he said, "Can anyone bring for us until today one hadith that the husband wanted to strive in the path of Allah and the wife stopped the husband?" One hadith, one story of any sahabiya. Can anyone prove one story of any sahabiya that the husband wanted to strive in the path of Allah and the wife stopped the husband from striving and prevented him? There isn't one story of Sahaba. Yes, there are stories of Sahaba when they did not strive in the path of Allah. 3 Sahaba, a very severe story that took place. What was the condition? Boycott took place on those Sahaba that did not strive in the path of Allah. One Sahabi wanted to go, Abdullah bin Rawaha. The Jamaat was made to go to Muta. Abdullah bin Rawaha, Zayd bin Haritha, and Ja'far bin Abi Talib radiyallahu ta'ala an. Abdullah bin Rawaha, he thought to himself, it's Thursday night. It's Thursday night. Let me one more time read a Jummah Salat with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam seen him the next day in Jummah. He said, "Oh Abdullah, you are still here? And the Jamaat is gone in the path of Allah? How is it possible? How is it possible you are at home?" He said, "Oh Nabi of Allah, my desire was to read the Jummah Salat behind you in Medina Munawwara." Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that they will enter Jannat 500 years before you. 500 years before you. And he was not going. He knew that he will never come home again. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you die, Zayd bin Haritha will take over. If he dies, Ja'far bin Abi Talib, if he passes away, make a Amir from amongst yourselves. He knew he's not coming home. And in the battlefield, the different takazas were coming in front of him. He had difficulty to give his life. And what he was speaking to himself, he was speaking, "Oh Abdullah, oh Abdullah, why? What has happened? Ya habbadha al-jannati waqtirabuha, tayyibatun wa baridatun sharabuha, wal-rumu rumu qaddana adhabuha, alayya idh laqaytuha dirabuha." That one day, oh Abdullah, if you don't want to die here, you don't want to die in this Mubarak path, you don't want to die while you're striving in the path of Allah, going from country to country, far away from your home, far away from your children. Oh Abdullah, listen carefully. Oh Abdullah, listen carefully. He was speaking to his soul, but actually he was speaking to you and me. He was speaking to us and saying, if you don't want to die in this Mubarak path, remember you have to die one day. No one is going to live forever. No one is going to live forever. They became examples for mankind until the day of Qiyamah. They strove in Ja'far bin Abi Talib, the cousin of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He goes that morning, early in the morning, to Asma bint Umays, the wife of Ja'far bin Abi Talib. He knocks on the door. She can see on the face of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there's bad news that is going to come to this house. They sacrificed their husbands in the path of Allah that never came home again. He told his wife, Asma bint Umays, Ja'far bin Abi Talib became shaheed in the path of Allah. She started crying. Rasulullah said, he will have a house. He will have a house in Jannah that will be suspended in the sky. A special house that will be suspended in the sky. Because his two arms were cut off. And in place of his two arms, green wings will be given to him. And through the medium of those green wings, he will fly to his Jannah. He will fly to his Jannah. He was known as Ja'far Tayyar because of this. He was known as Ja'far Tayyar because of this. And Rasulullah ﷺ would see those small boys, Muhammad, Aun and Abdullah, the three sons of Ja'far bin Abi Talib. He called them, he shaved their hair. And he would rub, whenever he would go on journey and he would come back, he would rub the head and he would call those three boys and say, how fortunate. These three boys, their father passed away in the path of Allah. This is an honor. Sahaba only had two groups. Only two groups among the Sahaba. Those that gave their lives. من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله عليه فمنهم من قضى نحبه ومنهم من ينتظر وما بدلوا تبديلا. There were only two groups of Sahaba. Those that gave their lives. Those that gave their lives. And those that were waiting to give their life. Rasulullah said that I wish I can become a shaheed and given life, and a shaheed and given life, to sacrifice my life. One narration says, 7 times Rasulullah said this. We have been chosen and selected. And if our life goes in the path of Allah, it is a cheap bargain. For this deen to come alive, for the people of Ireland to get hidayat, for the people of Tralee to get hidayat, for the people of Cork to get hidayat, for the people of all these small little towns and villages and cities, they are supplying the whole world with curry butter, and everyone is enjoying it. Can it be a time that they supply the whole world with hidayat? And each home and each house gets hidayat from here. With that fikr and worry we have come, how mankind can be saved. We have been chosen and selected. In this, if our homes are used, it's a cheap bargain. If our money is used, it's a cheap bargain. If our life is used, it is a cheap bargain. This is the actual objective of our life, why Allah has created us. So for this, my respected brothers and elders, mothers and sisters, a tashkil can take place, inshallah, to make us ready to go in the path of Allah. We have not come here. We have been sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make a fikr and a concern how deen can come alive, how Allah's command can come alive, how the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam can come alive. Deen is beautiful, deen is lush, deen is green, deen is success. Just like how the whiteness of milk cannot be separated from milk, and just like how the sweetness of honey cannot be separated from honey, and the beautiful aroma cannot be separated from a flower, wallah, success cannot be separated from deen. Who has deen is successful. Who has deen will be unsuccessful until the day of Qiyamah. We all need deen. Perfect deen to come in our life, in our young little children, in the generations to come. And how it's going to come? We have to make an effort, a sacrifice, a qurbani will have to take place. Like these sisters have left their homes. They left from South Africa, they came here. And how we can go, inshallah, to the whole alam, the whole world. People are looking for success. See this area we came in now, Tralee. This is a tourist location. Tourist place. Sometimes when we're in America, you go to certain places, thousands of people, they're paying thousands of dollars, or you say euros, and they're coming here for tourism. Why are they coming for tourism? Why? Because they want peace. They want sukoon. They look at the mountain. They say, look at this mountain. They take 20 pictures. They're looking for sukoon. They look at the waterfall. They look, look at this waterfall. They're taking camera, buying expensive cameras. Expensive. That's why the phones are getting more expensive. The cameras are, and they're taking pictures. They're looking for sukoon. They're looking for peace. They're looking at the mountaintop with snow peaks. They go to beaches and they look at the beach and they say, they take a picture. They look at something. They need sukoon. The whole year they're working. Life is difficult. Life is challenging. But wallah, sukoon is not in these things. Sukoon is not in these things around. After he's spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, buying flights, paying hotels, paying taxis, going to eat out, they see something, and they think they're going to get sukoon. And those that have it, it's in deen, and nowhere else besides deen. That's why we have to make our tashkil, the tashkil of the ladies that have come, and a fikr for this area, how deen can come alive, inshallah. So inshallah, tashkil can take place for a few minutes, and after the tashkil, inshallah, we make dua. Inshallah. Tashkil for 3 days, for 10 days, 40 days, for the men also to go in the path of Allah, and what that also, home ta'lim, inshallah.
Stand off now already.
Chai ho gaya.